What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of the Forgotten Race Review. Today, at the request of XXXIII E2 R3, we'll be covering the Oread. The Oread has seen many printings across all of Pathfinder, but it has appeared to us most recently in Pathfinder's supplement, Blood of the Elements. The request list for the Forgotten Race Review is getting pretty long, but if you have any requests for this series or any of the series I'm running, as always, throw them in the comments and we'll get right to them. As always, this channel is supported by patronage, and patronage is the #1 way to see us do bigger, better, more powerful, awesome things. So if you'd be interested in helping us out on our journey to success, as always, our Patreon link is in the description. Today, this episode of the Forgotten Race Review was brought to you by my only patron who has played an Oread in any campaign I've ever run, Josh King. Josh, as always, thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. It means the world. Now let's dive in. In Greek mythology, an Oread is a mountain nymph. These guys were associated with Artemis since the goddess, when she went out hunting, preferred mountains and rocky precipices. Most famous among the Oreads is Echo, a nymph who, much like all the other nymphs and even mortals in Greek mythology, was a favored consort of Zeus. Hera eventually, as it always goes, became suspicious of Echo and came from Mount Olympus in an attempt to catch Zeus with her. Zeus ordered Echo to protect him, and thus she endured Hera's wrath. Hera made her only able to speak the last words spoken to her. So when Echo eventually would meet Narcissus and fell in love with him, she was unable to tell him how she felt and was forced to watch him as he fell in love with himself. And now you guys know where the name of that sound comes from when you shout in a cave, as well as people who are a little too into themselves, but that's not what we came for. In Pathfinder, Oreads are geniekin with ties to the elemental plane of Earth. These guys are much like Aasimars or Tieflings in that somewhere back in a geniekin's ancestry, mortal blood intertwined with genie blood, and thus a geniekin is born. The physical characteristics that mark an Oread from a regular humanoid manifest in the form of earthly skin tones that range in color from white onyx to black obsidian. Some might even possess living jewels for eyes or spiky crystalline growths for hair. Despite what this description makes it sound like, an Oread is still a creature of flesh and blood. You cut them, they bleed. Nevertheless, Oreads in folklore are sometimes depicted as ponderous hulks chiseled from stone. This stereotype, of course, fails to portray the Oread's capacity for beauty and sophistication. Of all the geniekin, Oreads are the most predisposed towards a calm, contemplative nature. While they might bristle in moments of strife, Oreads are renowned for their generally thoughtful demeanor and stoic determination. They give themselves wholly to their studies, preferably in isolation, and shy away from the bustle of metropolitan life. Oreads who do grow up in urban environments seek the peace of libraries and academies, but may eventually leave the safety of the city in pursuit of tranquility, knowledge, or something else entirely. Most Oreads are born from unions between humans and Shaitans. Shaitans are proud, attractive, and outspoken genies, and many of these qualities are passed to their children. Rarely, mortals might give birth to Oreads as a result of unintended mingling with elemental energies from the plane of Earth. Such accidental exposures can be traced to a variety of causes, such as nearby interplanar portals, ancestors with elemental blood, or even malign elemental spellcasters. Few Oreads find themselves without work, or at least some role in a community should they desire one. Thanks to their great size and brawn, many find an easy career with the local watch or as privately commissioned bodyguards or mercenaries. Others excel in the trade skills, others excel in agriculture, and others find pleasure in bookkeeping and scholarly pursuits. Despite the predilection for tranquil vocations, young Oreads often experience a longing to see some measure of the wilds and breadth of the earth, which in turn inspires them to become PCs. Now let's get down to the character sheet. An Oread has a +2 to their strength and a +2 to their wisdom, as if the description didn't already scream monk, but a -2 to their charisma. These guys are strong, solid, stable, and also stoic. Oreads are medium native outsiders with a base speed of 20 feet. They have dark vision out to 60 feet and can cast Magic Stone once a day. Oreads have acid resistance 5, and Oread sorcerers with the elemental earth bloodline treat their charisma scores as 2 points higher for all sorcerer spells and class abilities. Oread clerics with the earth domain use their domain powers and spells at +1 caster level. So yeah, what you see is what you get pretty much with these guys. However, I will note that no one, I think at least, really wants Magic Stone once a day. At lower levels, if you're fighting undead a lot, the 2d6 plus 2 points of damage that Magic Stone might give you isn't the worst thing in the world, but eventually you are definitely going to grow out of this. So let's take a look at some alternate racial traits real quick. As far as replacing that spell-like ability goes, the only really powerful alternate racial trait we have, in my opinion, is called Ferrous Growth, which allows us to, once per day, touch a piece of non-magical iron or steel and grow it into an object up to 10 pounds in weight, such as a sword, a crowbar, or a shield. The object remains in this form for 10 minutes or until broken, at which point it shrinks back to its original size and shape. So once a day, that piece of iron we're carrying around can, like the description says, become a crowbar. If it's small enough to fit in a lock, maybe you can make it become a key. There's a lot of stuff that you can play around with this. Yeah, really, honestly, I would trade out Magic Stones just right off the bat, unless we were playing a short campaign at low levels, mostly against the undead. Also, XXXIII E2R3 would like us to talk about Oread gem magic and how to implement it, so let's dive into that real quick. Oreads with this racial trait can augment their earth-related spells and spell-like abilities through the use of precious and semi-precious gemstones as additional material components. The gems are destroyed in the process, granting the spell the listed effect in addition to its normal effects unless otherwise noted. Only one instance of Oread gem magic can be applied to a spell at a time. Excess expended gems do not stack. This replaces Earth Affinity, and if we aren't a sorcerer or a cleric, there's no reason we should be carrying that around in the first place, so yeah, by all means, axe it. Let's take a look at this table. Now, there may be other spells floating around that fit the flavor of Oread gem magic because there's so many spells in Pathfinder, but since Pathfinder 2nd edition has been announced, and if you'd like to follow our coverage of the new system of that game we love, you can follow this card right here. I wouldn't necessarily expect to see more of these crawl out of the woodwork. Wall of Stone, a really powerful spell on its own, becomes 1 inch thick per 3 caster levels, instead of 1 inch thick per 4 caster levels, at the cost of 500 gold. That extra inch might not seem like a lot, but wait till a bunch of things are charging you in a hallway and you're out of resources except for this. It will save your life. Clashing Rocks looks pretty interesting too. Normally that only does 20d6 points of bludgeoning damage. Yeah, I know, only, right? By spending emeralds worth 1500 gold, we can now do +1 damage per damage die, meaning we're actually doing 20d6 plus 20 bludgeoning damage. It's going to be kind of hard to put metamagic feats on this because it's a 9th level spell, but if we can, putting something like Elemental Spell on Clashing Rocks to make the spell do, I don't know, acid damage, stacking with something like the Orc Draconic Bloodline means we're doing 20d6 plus 60 damage at the end of the day, and who said blaster casters weren't powerful? I can dig that a whole lot. At lower level play, the spell Stone Shape says that there's a 30% chance that any shape, including movable parts, doesn't work. Spend 250 gold, and those shapes now only have a 5% chance to not work, which means they probably work. Elemental Body normally has a duration of 1 minute per level. If we spend some amber worth 250 gold, this being for Elemental Body 1, we add 100 gold per spell level for greater versions. That duration changes to 10 minutes a level. So if we just really need to fly for a long time or earth glide for a long time or be underwater, we've got it. Most of these are pretty powerful, so if your Oread has the extra money to spend and is a spellcaster, yeah, by all means, pick up Oread Gem Magic. It's really good. And thank you, XXXIII-E2R3, for bringing this to my attention, because I really like it, and I think it might be time to put together a blaster caster, because this looks like a lot of fun. Now, one thing that is not a lot of fun is your slow speed, because you're not a dwarf. Your base speed is 20 feet, but your speed is still modified by things like armor. Your base speed is 20 feet, but your speed is still modified by armor, which means an Oread in heavy armor has a move speed of 15 feet. So if you're playing an Oread and you want that Oread to wear heavy armor, either invest in a mount invest in boots of teleportation. Really, I think everyone should invest in boots of teleportation, or bring a ranged weapon with a really long range, because again, people are going to leave you behind, or worse, when you're running away from something that's about to get you. You have the slowest move speed, and we all know the saying, you don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun the guy with the 20-foot move speed. Yours is worse. Unless it is different in your setting, Oreads and really all the Geniekin are pretty rare, so your Oread NPC might be the only one in your campaign. Add that to the fact that your Oread NPC's eyes might glimmer like jewels, and he or she probably draws a lot of attention anywhere they go. This, in my mind, means one of two things. Either they love the attention and they revel in it everywhere they go because, again, they're super shiny and they are drawing the attention of everyone, becoming a celebrity in their own right. Or, like most Oreads, flavor as written, they secret themselves away, surrounded by books, surrounded by solitude, where no one can see them and they can have the peace they want to work. They can have the peace of mind they need to become monks, clerics, gestalt, monk, clerics. You get the idea. That's what these guys usually are. Of course, there's nothing saying that we can't use the +2 to our strength and the +2 to our wisdom and shore up some of the ability scores that might be a little worse for us when we're playing classes that don't necessarily rely on strength or wisdom, especially in a lower point buy. Maybe you'd like to play something like a rogue or a wizard who needs their dexterity or intelligence, but you don't want to dump your strength or your wisdom into the negatives, which can help round things out, again, especially in lower point buys. But what about you guys? Have you ever used an Oread in your games? Have you ever played an Oread? Or have you ever played any of the other Geniekin races? Let me know all about it in the comments below. As always, we'll keep the conversation going. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. The next episode of the Forgotten Race Review, where we cover the mystical Samsarin, drops next Monday.